When you're first coming to New York City, the subways can seem absolutely daunting and overwhelming. I think everybody feels like this at first because everybody knows that they're going to have to use the subways at some point, but people try to avoid it because they just literally don't understand how the subways work. So I would say compared to other cities across the world, the train systems here are a little bit complicated. They probably seem a little bit more complicated than they actually are once you get to know them. I remember the days where I used to see people with like actual physical subway maps, and they still do have them. However, nobody uses them anymore. So apps like Google Maps and other like specific subway ones exist now, so you can literally just find out which subway that you need to take on your phone. That has made it way easier than back in the day when people were moving to New York City without phones and they had to literally figure out with the map where they're going. So Google Maps and these websites tell you exactly which subway you're getting on, right? So you can put in your location and it will tell you which train to take or a few different options of which trains to take. But you need to pay attention to when you're getting on the subway, which direction is the subway going in? Is it an east or west train? Is it an east to west train? If it's an east to west train, are you about to go west or are you about to go east? Because that's where people get tripped up when they're trying to go on the subway. But they're about to get on the train. They know it's the right train line, but they're not sure if they're getting on in the right direction. If you get on the train in the wrong direction, you're going to have to get off the train and then get back on the train and go in the direction that you need to go in, which every New Yorker has done this at some point. Even when people have been in New York for a while, if they're just not paying attention, they just get on the wrong train and they're like, wait a second, I'm going uptown. I need to go downtown. And if you're on an express train, specifically one that is going very fast across Manhattan, it will take you uptown very, very quickly. So that's what I want you to pay attention to first. Your phone will tell you which train to take depending on where you're going. Pay attention. Is that train going west or east? Do you need to go west or east, north or south? You just need to pay attention to that first. I'm going to do a very detailed video like where I'm actually like taking a train and kind of showing you how to do this like in person. I haven't recorded that yet. I haven't even done any videos with me like outside of my little office here recording videos because I'm kind of intimidated about taking my camera around because I'm not really good at filming, but I will do this at some point. One of those apps that is good for like subway transportation specifically, I said like Google Maps just because like I do typically use Google Maps as like one of the main ones I use. So City Mapper is also another one that is good specifically for New York City and specifically the subways. I actually used to use this one as well when I was going to like very specific places on the subway. However, I don't really need that anymore, but if you're just getting started with New York City subways, you might want to start using City Mapper. So you might notice that there are numbered trains for the subways, and then there are also letter trains. So why is that? The answer to this question is actually not really relevant to anything today at all. So I'm going to read you what I found on this. The letter trains, originally the BMT and IND trains, so I guess those were the letters, are actually wider and longer than the number trains, originally the IRT trains. Okay, so that's definitely not the numbers. That's definitely probably the companies that were running the trains or something like that. So this is interesting. So the letter trains can't run in the tunnels built for the others. So the letter trains have to go in specific tunnels compared to the number trains. So that's very interesting. I didn't even know that before this. I knew that there was a specific historic reason, but I didn't know this was it. So like I said, it's not really relevant to you. And you'll learn eventually like, okay, I live off the ABCE line, or I live off the 123 line. Like, it's not really going to help you figure out where you are in New York City. You just kind of have to memorize, like, where is the 123 train line? The 123 runs on the west side primarily. Same with the ACE. So it's just kind of like, you just have to memorize that, I would say. So another thing that you're going to have to pay attention to when getting on the subway is express versus local trains. Every station, when they have 3 trains, I'm going to say like the ACE or the 123. I'll use both of those 2 examples. A number train and a letter train. They all, out of those 3 trains, have express trains and local trains. Express trains are going to be exactly what the word express means. It's fast. They're going to skip over all the local stops, and they're just going to go to those main express stops. 14th Street, 34th Street, 42nd Street, 72nd Street. Those are just some examples of some express stations. Local stops are going to be those obscure in-between stops. So if you're going to 22nd Street, that's going to be a local stop. If you're going to 18th Street, that's a local stop. It's not a main line. So pay attention to your stop. If your stop is an express, get on the express train. You can get on a local, but I don't recommend it. And then if it's a local stop, you have to get on the local because otherwise your express train that you're on will just blow right past your stop and you will not be able to get off and you'll have to turn back around and do that whole thing, which I've done before. I've done all these mistakes before. So if you do any of these mistakes, I don't want you to feel bad. That's going to be what you're going to have to pay attention to. Local versus express stops. Once you start taking the trains a good amount of times, you'll learn this very quickly. Like which ones are the local stops and which ones are the express. And they do vary per line. So a little bit of subway etiquette. Don't stand in front of the subway doors. So when the doors are opening and people are getting in and out, don't stand right in front of them because one, you will get knocked down because people are ruthless in the subway and they will just push you. And secondly, people tend to know that if you're standing in front of the subway doors, you're either a tourist or new to the city, because it's kind of like New York code to just not stand in front of the subway doors, like, because you will get shoved out of the way. It's just such a nuisance to people who are New Yorkers. So if you're in the way of the doors, when the doors open, try to stand aside or step outside and step back in, because people will be so rude to you. I always also like to say, like, just be careful with the subways late at night. I'm not gonna lie, in my early 20s, there was many times that I took the subway late at night. I kind of look back at that now and I'm like, kind of crazy. I definitely shouldn't have been doing that, but I didn't really have another way of getting around the city. So I would say, if you can, don't take the subway at night. If you can, if you have to, see if you can take it with anyone else and see if you can, like, at least get on the train with anybody else, even if they're going to a different stop. So I would say, if you can avoid it, by all means, just like take a ride if you can, something like that, because I don't recommend taking the subway late at night. Like, I mean, after 12 late at night. There's been a lot of like bad press recently about the subways. And I would say that in the news, they're always going to share the terrible things that happen rather than the millions and millions of people that go through the subways every day where nothing happens or good things happen. So of course you're going to hear about all the negative things and all the tragedies, right? But at the same time, I would say, if you're waiting on the platform for a train, stand away from the tracks. And just try to stand in the platform, just because there has been like some really crazy stuff that has been happening recently. So I would just say, please be safe down there, because you just never know. But at the same time, I do think in the news, they're telling you the worst case scenario, the things that never happen, because otherwise it wouldn't be considered news. So just something to consider. Now, I'm going to do separate videos, like I said, about me actually taking trains, showing you. Also, I'm going to do in-depth videos on each neighborhood and exactly the trains that you can take in the neighborhood. So kind of going and explaining it further. And now, the reason why I didn't do that in this video was because I can't really explain all of the subways in Manhattan in one video. So I do have to break it down by neighborhood, so just look out for those. If there's anything that I missed or anything that you want to add about taking the subway in New York City, please share it in the comments, because as always, I love hearing from you guys.